Everybody talks about ground force reaction, but when you look at the spiral, it creates the proper ground force reaction. And what I mean by that, if you simplify it to the extreme, when we're doing it, if we simplified it, we would create a big spring in our hand. This is too much of a simplification, Travis, but let's say we've got a big spring in our hand and I hold the bottom and twist the top, right? I'm creating coil all the way through that spring and the center's not moving. Yeah.
Yep.
And then just before you finish coiling the top, what you do is compress the top down. So you compress the coils, which then forces the ground force reaction of the lower part of the coils, which twists it the other way. And then they align and then they open up together. So you never get this problem where your tailbone's going forward and in the way of your arm swing coming through. In an ideal world, you're at the start of the downswing, you would have compressional change in the head position, which would actually force the tailbone to go backwards down the spine and out the way almost. That's what ground force reaction is really. You want to create that room. And if you look back at Tiger's swing in 2000, and there's some great video of him, everybody used to say, well, Tiger's losing height, but it was compressional height. He was compressing his spine back into his tailbone, so he was losing height, but he was creating more room for his arms to come under his chest. And it's very, very apparent if you go back to the year 2000, when I think he was at his best. Tiger.
How much of 3D technology has been a part of you and your academy? Is that something that has been of interest to you and you've learned from?
Well, funny enough, you said that. I had the best biomechanist who I thought was the best biomechanist by far, probably 20 years ago. Ryan Lumsden. He's in Australia now. He's still about. He still helps the Japanese players. Ryan Lumsden worked with the guy called Ramsey McMaster, who did a lot with me. Ramsey's been dead 11 years now, unfortunately. And my coaching became a lot better when I started understanding the physiology of the body and how the body worked relative. So yes, 3D. And we used to, when we did the seminars, Ramsey was a physio, but he was also a trainer as well. And Ryan was the biomechanist. And we all fitted together, and I went on the range and I said, well, this is what I found this kid. And Ramsey would say, well, this is what I found out with him physically. And then Ryan would say, well, biomechanically, he can do this, he can do that, but he can't do that. So we did that 20 odd years ago, at least. Yeah. For the players. And so it's nothing new to us, but they could tell. They obviously do it a lot better now, but they could tell you what was happening in the golf swing, but they couldn't really tell you how it was happening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
What is actually, so I always say something's got to move something else. So which sequence is it, and how is it moved, and why is it moving, and what is moving it? So what's moving what? So like people talk about the ground force reaction. Yeah, but how do I get ground force reaction?
Yeah.
How do I get it? How do I get it correctly?
Right.
Not just shift weight to get ground force reaction. How do I get it correctly so that the actual body can work in its most efficient way through the impact? Because if the body stalls through impact, the arms and the club will work independently of that.
Yeah.
So the better the inside works, the better the outside works. We know that. It's for sure. And we've been saying that for years. And that's why we said, if it spirals up and spirals down, then obviously the body is always turning through the impact area to stabilize whatever impact conditions you want.
Yeah. And I've heard you talk about the spiral staircase a lot. And I think it's one of the best videos that I've watched that's out there. In the spiral staircase.
The spiral is very, very simple. Everything in the world grows spiral. Even your ligaments and your muscle structure. The baby in the womb grows spiral. The tree grows spiral. The grass grows spiral. So it's a real natural thing to do. And if you stand and realize that the spiral is the most efficient way of creating power and to avoid injury, then I think more people would, achieve it. And there is such a program is called the Spiral Dynamics, which if you look at it on YouTube, I think you'll realize I think it's Austrian guy or German guy, and he's talking about the natural movement of the spiral and how you actually would work that spiral, and that's part of it.